They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call or visit fatherhood.gov to learn more.
I'm only 17, but I know about investing. Believe in something, buy shares in it, watch it grow. So, what if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. I could be one of the first college graduates from my family, the first philanthropist from my neighborhood. And if I'm the first, then maybe there's a second and a third. Believe in us. Invest in us. Watch us grow. My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
I wish I was in school. If only I had a math test today. I'll stay after class. I'll clean the chalkboard. I wish I was in school.
School ends, but free lunches for your kids don't have to. Find your local food bank at feedingamerica.org/summer meals for help.
Hello, welcome to In My Opinion. I'm Cara Live. This is the second of 3 segments designed to introduce you to 2 of the In My Opinion players, Stephen Reese and Brandon Andrews. The topic of this discussion is marriage equality. We hope you enjoy this segment and like us on Facebook at In My Opinion TV. The conversation begins now with Stephen Reese addressing why Americans have changed their position on marriage equality. Again, welcome to In My Opinion.
The images of gay people have been presented in a positive light, and as they see more regular acting gay people, they're like, hey, they're not that different than I am. Also, the youth are more comfortable coming out as gay. So when people say derogatory things about gay people, they're talking about their sons, they're talking about their daughters, they're talking about their nieces, their nephews. So they have to walk it back because it's a personal statement now. So also, I think the gay community has done a really good job of promoting the issue as a civil right.
Well, what I've noticed too is that politicians as a whole have evolved in this particular issue, at least with their stance.
Right.
And again, we just saw Hillary Clinton make a statement.
Obama was evolving for a minute.
Yeah, so was Joe Biden, who spoke before Obama.
Yeah.
And even in the Republican Party, there's been a change.
They're a little bit slow to evolve.
But there is evolution in the Republican Party. So I was wondering, I know you're saying that Hollywood made a difference. I was wondering what do you think was the point of the issue that triggered the politicians to actually make a change, or do you have any thoughts in regards to that? Either one.
Money talks. I mean, if you have a lobbying group, if you have a targeted marketing campaign, if you have a political action campaign, and you have money behind that, you can pay for access to talk to politicians. You can't necessarily buy a vote, but they were effective in presenting their platform, and their platform also, money flowed behind their platform. You know, gay people, especially dinks, dual income, no kids, they have a lot of discretionary income, so they put their money where their mouth is. So they put their money behind candidates who supported their agenda.
I was wondering if going back to you said that regarding presenting their platform, if the fact that they presented their platform as a civil rights position or issue versus anything else. I'm just wondering if that was part of what triggered the change.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think that's their sweet spot once they hit that, because before, when they tried to promote it as just a love issue, people didn't understand that, especially African Americans. Once you present it as a civil rights issue, we're like, oh, we understand what it is to be discriminated against. We understand what it is to have laws that are geared against us based on who we are. So once they did that, I think the African American community somewhat came around. I don't think we're all the way around, because the black church is so strong and so powerful. And I don't think that we're all the way there. But as far as a civil rights issue, I don't think there's any discussion anymore about that. Not in the African American community. As a civil rights, civil. Not
so I would disagree with you on.
No surprise.
With your assumption that there's no longer any debate or any unreadiness about attaching the term civil right to the struggle of folks in the LGBTQ community. I think there is still some unreadiness within the African American community. I think there's some unreadiness and a little bit of uneasiness across the nation with attaching.
The concept of it. I know they're actually embracing it as something different. But
I don't think you made that distinction a second ago.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Hopefully I can clear it up. But what I'm saying is the concept of marriage equality as a civil rights is pretty clear among the African American community. Of course, there are going to be people on one side that agree with it and people on the other side that disagree with it for whatever reason. But I think that concept is clear now. It's not an arguable concept. As before, it was like, we didn't get the connection. Like, how is this like? How is their struggle like our struggle? And they've done an effective job with showing how those struggles are somewhat the same.
Sure, and I think that the community has done, and when I say community, I mean the LGBT community has done a very good job with humanizing their campaign. I think the fact that in popular culture and in kind of popular understanding, the science behind HIV, AIDS, the fact that you're not going to catch it by rubbing up against someone, the fact that these people... Careful.
I'm saying marriage equality.
No. So what I'm saying is the reason that if we're talking about reasons why the marriage equality debate has no longer become a debate in the minds of a lot of Americans, I would say the fact that folks understand that you don't catch AIDS by rubbing up against someone or being in the same room, or you don't catch it by hugging someone or being able to love someone. Humanizing their campaign has helped with it. And then also, as you said, they've been effective advocates, and they've been at it for several years. And of course, politicians read the tea leaves, or they're supposed to, in
the bank statements.
Right, read the tea leaves in the bank statements. And I think that's all three of those things have kind of come together to drive us to the place that we're at
not
today
so much
words become the words before the Supreme Court.
I'm sorry,
and so yes, the fact that civil rights, social justice organizations, including the NAACP, have come out in support following President Obama and following several other prominent folks out there. And I think it's the basic understanding that just because someone does something that I don't like or that I don't agree with doesn't mean you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You can still love that person, still be friends with the person, still work with the person, and they still have value despite your view on what their sexual orientation is, whatever their skin color is, whatever it may be, whatever variable you want to insert. And I think that's progress.
In the public sphere, that's why I keep saying civil rights. But when it comes to and I'm going to do something really scary here. When it comes to like your soul and how your personal behavior impacts your lifestyle, I think that's a separate discussion. And I think a lot of the resistance to the marriage equality movement has to do with people's perception of whether or not gayness is right, or whether or not gayness is sinful, or whether or not gayness is something that's born, or whether or not gayness is environmental. So the discussion is about this exotic gay thing, and I think all of that, culture will fix that. But as far as what is guaranteed for a citizen of the United States, I believe that each citizen should be able to enjoy the same rights that other citizens have. Like I'm a 7-day Adventist, and like I was telling you earlier, we don't believe in drinking coffee, but I'm not out advocating to end Starbucks. I mean, you can drink as much coffee as you want, but personally, I'm not going to choose to drink coffee. So what I don't get is the church's reluctance to, I guess, to confront itself and to look squarely at itself and to say, how does this fall in respect to the doctrine of grace and mercy? I know I went a lot of places. But and I it was a hot topic on Facebook this week, man. I'm sorry.
No worries. In terms of the church, the way I see it is, some pastors have said, "This is my interpretation." I'm not going to comment on whether or not their interpretation is right or not right, but some folks say this is my interpretation. I think it's wrong, and so I'm going to hopefully these folks that think it's wrong will do it with love, will love the people. And then other folks have said, hey, there's some gray area, or my interpretation is that it's not a sin. So,
I mean, even if it is a sin, and I'm not saying that it is not or that it is, I don't know. My brain is, I have a big head, but my brain is not that big enough to figure that out. Even if it is a sin, why is it treated differently than other sins?
It shouldn't be. There's no big and little sin. It says that that's the way it should be approached. And I think again it goes back to in popular culture in America, understanding that just because someone does something different doesn't mean I can't love that person. Doesn't mean we can't. They don't still have some value. That doesn't mean that they.
How does changing the law changes anyone's faith? Because
here's the thing that an issue that I have with
expanding liberty under the law. How does that change your faith?
Right,
that's
because your faith will still be your faith.
If
whatever you believe, you still believe. It doesn't change that, even if the law is changed and you're providing the rights for gay and lesbians.
And this is one thing
to get married.
That folks in the LGBT community say at times that gives me pause. They say that we want to be fully accepted by America, or fully accepted, by the culture that they live in.
That's ever gonna happen.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the thing. Now to say that you want to be fully represented or fully accepted by the government that represents you, I think that's absolutely something we should be doing.
Fully given the rights that everybody else has.
Fully represented by the government that represents you. But I think for a lot of folks in the LGBT community, and especially earlier on in the movement, they want to be fully accepted by society, by the society in which they live. And I think the three of us around this table and folks out in the audience and who are viewing this understand that that's something that involves personal choice, it involves faith, it involves predilections, it involves
geography.
There's just
so much
at the core of it, you know, someone can decide not to like you because you're wearing a purple tie, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about that. I don't know. I have to look at some of those Facebook comments to see if anybody likes you.
Yeah, well, that's an inbox. You know, inbox me hate. But I don't get the vitriol a lot of times, especially from Christians. I do not get it. I mean, you know, I like to say I was birthed on the pulpit. I'm from Red, Tennessee. I was born, bred in the church. I wasn't bred in the church, but I was born and reared in the church. And what I know, you know, there's why do you worry about the mote in my eye when there's a plank in yours? He without sin cast the first stone. What's the other one? I can't even think of it. My mom's going to give me. But those two are enough for you to extend grace and mercy. Because when you look at yourself, you're not perfect. You're not 100%. We're all, in my opinion.
Yeah, but when Christians are looking at the gay and lesbian community, they're making a judgment.
Right.
And I would think that was wrong if you're a Christian when you're thinking, and the Bible says, love thy neighbor. So why can't you love that person even though they're gay?
The Bible says, judge not lest ye be judged. So, and if they're judging with this strict interpretation, woe unto them, because that's the same standard that they're going to be judged upon, as opposed to if you're judging with grace and mercy, Lord, I don't know. I don't know what it is. You know, I don't think someone would choose to live this lifestyle. This is Stephen. I don't think someone would choose to be a oppressed person. And so I don't know. So until I know, if I ever know, I'm going to trust that you know, and you got it.
I think a couple of the, of course, I'm not in the minds of the folks in the Supreme Court, but I think a couple of the justices have indicated that there are some cracks in DOMA, or some things that some fissures in there that they'd
DOMA,
like to.
Not Prop 8, just DOMA.
Yeah, I'm talking about. And when I say DOMA, Defense of Marriage Act, that there are some cracks in it that need to be explored, and we'll see. So I don't think it's something where you've seen some court cases in the past where it's kind of an open and shut case where there was a popular movement to bring it before the court, but you knew the result or kind of felt some way about the result beforehand. I think here, I don't think anyone knows at this point, but there definitely, I will say that, you know, in the oral arguments, a couple of the justices came out and made some statements that pointed to certainly a reluctance to have things continue to be the way they have.
From what I've heard, you know, there's some discussion of whether or not they should even heard this case this soon. Then I also heard those comments about, you know, marriage equality is newer than the internet. So I don't know if the justices themselves are ready to rule on this. I don't know if they're evolved enough to rule on this. I don't know if they think America's evolved enough, or the popular sentiment is solidified enough for them to rule on it. But that being said, I think if they do rule on it, I think they're going to punt, and they're going to say that they are. I'm getting stuttered here. I think they should have equal protection of the law. I think they're going to come down on the side of equal protection of the law, if they rule it all. You know, if it's not one of those punt decisions. For the gay community to have an even view. I mean, to have this issue up. I think they have something to be proud about. They rallied their troops. They got together and they're actually having a discussion about it.
Right. One of the things I think that evolved my particular position on this was the fact that when a gay couple, and I know couples that have been together 20 years, maybe longer than some actual marriages, who I know that have been married twice within 20 years.
Or 3 times.
Yeah, or 3 times. but they, you know, sustained and been together that long. But the issue was the benefits issue and not being able to receive benefits for their partner if their partner died. That particular issue, I think, is what really triggered me to change my mind, because I thought, from my perspective, it's not fair. If you've been with someone for X amount of years and you've said that you are committed to each other, then why could they not benefit from whatever is left, or if they obtain together?
On the basis of fairness and equity and choice. I believe that people have a right to choose how they're going to live their life, you know, and they have consequences that come with those choices, but people have a right to choose how they're going to live a life. And I do not think that they should be treated ill by the law simply because they have chosen to live their life in a manner that's alternative.
Any final thoughts on that, Brandon?
Well, so regardless of where the Supreme Court comes down on the decision, we talked a good deal about the church, and in particular the Christian church, and how the Bible is interpreted, and how that influences the views of pastors and churchgoers, and really the nation. If you look over the years, regardless of where the Supreme Court comes down, I want to see a situation in which every American, LGBTQ, otherwise, whatever, are empowered to make that personal choice to love who they want to love, to do what they want to do. But then I also think it's fair to the religious institutions to empower them to make the choice about how they use the word marriage, which of course has all types of cultural and religious implications. And so I think there's a way to strike the balance, and unfortunately that's not discussed enough, in popular culture. I don't think it is.
I think they already have the choice. I don't think the government can compel a pastor to form a ceremony for a gay couple.
Sure.
I don't think the government can compel the pastor to use certain words. They already have that choice. And I think, like I was telling you earlier, I believe in the separation of church and state. I think I go to church when I want to talk about my soul, how I want to live my life, where I'm going in the afterlife, if there is one. I don't want government in my church, and I don't want church in my government. So, and I think by them, that's the only roadblock to people really accepting gay marriages has something to do with what the doctrine in the Bible says. And I think that should be a church issue. I think the government should give them full access.
Which is why I think we should just remove the word marriage, strike it from U.S. code. Yeah, strike it from United States code. Strike it from the books. Replace it with the word union, civil union, whatever it may be. That way we empower again the houses of worship, mosque, synagogue, church, whatever it may be, to use the word marriage as they would like to, and the law is blind, and the law is blind to whatever choice is made in terms of who you want to love, who you want to spend your life with. And each person is empowered to make that choice without prejudice from the government. Now, again, as we as African Americans know, there'll always be folks that have their views about what you're doing. But in terms of being fully represented and accepted by the government, I think that would solve it. I don't think that's going to happen.
I think your conservative friends
I don't think that's going to happen.
Your head.
I don't think it's going to happen. But
we're not married anymore. We're in a civil union. I think you're going to get in trouble.
I know, but in terms of being fair to both sides, I think that's the best approach we could take to it.
Cara, I'm sorry, but we agree.
I think I'm going to have to agree with you because when you look at the decision that they made recently regarding the Health Care Act, everyone thought it was going to go one way, and then the swing vote changed and it went another way.
For a different reason.
Well, yeah, for a different reason. But I, what I'm getting at, I think we will be surprised either way, whatever the decision is, if they actually rule on it, going back to your position.
I think it's a monumental accomplishment
for once, right?
Yeah, for once.
But going back, one more thing, a closing point in regards to the African American community. I don't know that they've actually evolved, and it's still, I think, a work in progress.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens on that end and what the Supreme Court actually does or rule. Again, it's a pleasure talking to you guys. I have Stephen Reese and Brandon Andrews, and here on In My Opinion. It's great to have you guys here again to chat with me, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks again for
being
Thanks
here.
for hearing my opinion.
In My Opinion. Thank you.